So the latest season of Warhammer Underworlds is up for pre-order right now. Warhammer Underworlds Gnarlwood. So this video is for you if you are not sure whether or not you're going to jump in or you want some convincing either way. So my background with Underworlds is that I never collected any of it, and I collected the whole run of Diachasm, didn't play it a great deal, and then have left it ever since. So I know people that play it a hell of a lot, and I am going to get back into it. So I sort of thought myself, what are the pros and cons of this game and, you know, the new season, and whether or not it's worth jumping in. And that's what this video is all about. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of it, the main thing to remember is that this new edition changes some real core rules. So the rules you've got currently with any sets you might already own, they will be incompatible with this one. If you want to play this interconnected with your old stuff, there are some things which are just incompatible, and we'll get onto those in a minute. Because if you want to play against someone who has got Gnarlwood, one of those warbands, the rules that they have got won't be exactly the same as the ones you've got for basic gameplay. Now the roadmap for this is that there are going to be 4 warbands, 2 in the Gnarlwood box and then 2 separate. There is also going to be the box Rivals of the Nethermaze. Those are the 2 warbands that are in the Nethermaze core box with their rival decks. There are 2 universal rival decks in the Gnarlwood box, and there will be another 2 released along the course of this season. Now, the game itself will continue to play in its current form, but there will be 3 ways of organising your decks. Gnarlwood will stick to the Rivals format, so what that is basically dedicated Rivals decks for your warbands. There will also be universal decks which can be used to bring in older warbands from previous versions of the game. Now this format is perfect for anyone who's just getting used to playing the game. So if you're new to Underworlds, it's definitely a good time to step in and play the Rivals format. It's also really good for anyone who is an experienced player, so maybe moving away from relying on old decks that they've tuned up over the years and that kind of thing, trying to start something new. If you want to maintain your specific warband cards, those can be mixed with universal Rivals decks, and that is what creates the new Nemesis format. This is really good for someone who enjoys their current warbands but wants to introduce new play styles. So you've got your core cards from that warband, and you know how it works, and you've got everything finely tuned from that perspective. If you want to add some different elements into the game and see if you can play in a different way. And then there is the Anything Goes relic format. So basically any cards you have available across the whole release phase of Underworlds can be used for the relic format. Now some cards are considered Forsaken because in the past they have maybe broken the game or are far too powerful, so therefore no longer included. In an overhaul of the main core rules, there are 3 main changes that we need to think about now. So movement has changed so you can move more than once in your phase. However, you cannot move and then later charge. If your entire available warband has a charge token, they can be acted again just for attacks or go on guard. That's a great change for small or depleted warbands where it's more likely that anyone can charge. It also makes you more likely to go on the offensive, leading to more exciting games. Newly introduced are stagger tokens. So these are the result of being hit by successful attacks or by stepping onto or being pushed onto a snare hex. Stagger tokens allow your opponent to re-roll some hit dice when they attack. So that's a big bonus when you're taking on high health enemies. The only other major change to the game is that the objective tokens start face up. So maybe that will help you to claim glory points earlier or help to inspire your team that much quicker. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that. I like the current way they do it, where you reveal them in the way that we currently do. So yeah, it's an interesting change and it might help to get into the game a little bit quicker. So that's all the main changes to the game, and that's kind of what is going on in the future. So there is a way to continue to play the way you do at the moment, albeit that moving and charging and the objectives and the stagger tokens play differently, but broadly the rest of the game is the same in terms of deck creation and manipulation and that kind of thing. So there is a way for everyone to play this, but I really like the idea of playing those universal Rivals decks. So straight out the box, an already finely tuned deck available for you to use straight away. So that's the way I intend to play it when I pick this up. So I know people who have watched Underworlds being played at their local games club and that kind of thing, and they've watched it and they've said, I couldn't get my head around building my deck and keeping on top of it and looking at the new things when they arrive and constantly fine-tuning that deck and working on it. Now, by the same token, perhaps you're a long-term player of Warhammer Underworlds and you enjoy fine-tuning your deck, trying out new things and seeing how they go. Definitely there's the relic format for you, but I don't think there's going to be much match play options for that. But it's certainly, if you're used to just playing with your friends, you can continue to do that. What I would say is that the relic way of playing the game is it can be as in-depth as you want it to be, because there are now probably thousands of cards to choose from. So it could be a real nightmare trying to put those decks together, or at least trying something new. Now, if you are a long-term player as well, I wouldn't consider the changes to be enough to make you drop out. Certainly when I've played previously, I really like the idea of having those extra moves. I like the idea of the stagger tokens as well, because I know that sometimes when I've been playing as a weaker warband, I've always thought, you know, if I can get an extra hit on there or do something a little bit more to try and break down some of these bigger foes, I think that's a really cool place to be. Ultimately, I think the changes are welcome. I think it looks pretty good. I certainly, as someone who's never been on top of Underworlds and bought all the releases and that kind of thing, I'm definitely with these changes ready to step back in now and enjoy it more than I ever did. Now we'll leave it there, so thanks very much for watching. If you've got any questions, pop them down in the comments, and yeah, thank you very much for sticking around right to the end. If you are going to pre-order this, consider doing so from Element Games via the link below, which will help the channel a very tiny bit. So thanks very much guys, I'll see you all later.